Right, so as Aaron said, I'm just going to take you through the command words and a bit about how we approach it at St Columba's High School, which might be a wee bit different to how some other centres approach it. But please, this is not a one-size-fits-all. This is really taking on board everything that's been shared in SATPE and across my experience done at 5 and a higher marker. So I've just tried to bring everything together. So the format of today's session, firstly we'll look at what's involved in each of the command words. Some of them will be a bit quicker than others, as you would expect. Looking at learning tasks to help exemplify and to help guide the candidates to unlock the information that's required in the command words. And lastly, looking at some questions and answers. All right. So first thing, I just want to show you this illustration. This is from the BBC Bite Size. It's a pretty good illustration showing, the command words from simple to more kind of complex command words. So that's a good illustration first and foremost to show the kids. I think this is quite familiar. Most of us are using this sort of Nando's illustrations to demonstrate the approach from identify, describe, explain, etc., all the way through to the more complex ones. So again, this is just sharing good ideas that are out there, guys, about how you can illustrate the command words from simple to complex. So today's session, I'll be looking at the stages of the cycle of analysis and looking at the command words within that. So the questions and the answers that come within each command word will be under each part of the cycle of analysis. So firstly, let's look at identify. It does what it says in the tin. I think we're all pretty confident with this one. However, just a wee reminder, this is about an identification. It can be one or two words or a small sentence on occasion. This is the easiest command word and is normally worth 1 mark at higher. And here you're simply stating the name of something. This one, it may or may not come in the higher exam. We were very fortunate last year. That was the first 2 questions. So it was a nice way in for the candidates last year. But what you want to try and make sure is that even though it is for 1 mark, your kind of CD candidates who are comfortable with identify and describe, it's a great one to make sure that they are well versed in and they nail that and they're not writing too much, which in some occasions can be the scenario. So just touching on basically what Louise said yesterday, I very much echo her views here, and I think a lot of us do. You're trying to make sure that any exemplification of the command word are true to real life. So we always start with sort of generic questions. So there'll be a whole bank of these that you'll use yourself, but we do ask them, identify 1 item of clothing you're wearing today, identify 1 item in your school bag, and the list is endless. But it's just to make that connection that they're just stating, they're naming something. The last 2 questions there are based on activities. What I would suggest you to do maybe during this period of lockdown, obviously looking forward, we're looking at maybe those sort of non-contact sports. So maybe getting to do a bit of research, identifying skills from those sports that perhaps that you're going to implement when we go back, when and how that'll look. So some of the things that we use for identify is we use true and false sort of quizzes with them. We also use quizzes, which is something that's an interactive tool. It's like a multiple choice game. You can use it in class. We use it for homeworks as well. We use it for revision. Forms, if you're not savvy to forms yet, I would really advise you to try and get your head around that during this time of lockdown. Forms, you can create a quiz, assign marks to it, and it does the marking for you. What we've done during this period of lockdown is every week we set our higher candidates a task which has got 4 elements to it, and it's extended writing, but we're seeing not the full class is engaging. So to back that up, we're doing a wee forms quiz, and that's been really, really useful because most of them have been engaging in that. Top trumps as well for identify, so giving them a factor or an approach, and they can identify it from the information, and also using retrieval practice. So last slide for identify, pretty straightforward here. Here's the questions, here's the answers. I'll not read through every single question and answer, that'll be for you to read later on, but you can see the first one, very straightforward. Identify 1 method used to collect data on the physical factor and observation schedule. So just getting them right in at the start, make an identification. Okay, so next one is describe. I suppose the format that most people are using is the what, the who and the how, and I'm going to touch on something that Louise said yesterday. We are also finding that our candidates at times, when it gets to the how, they are struggling. They forget vital bits of information in the protocol or the step-by-step process. So I'm going to come to a wee minute how we've tried to overcome that. Couple of wee things to remember for describe, and I know this is not any new information here, just backing up all the information that came from across Scotland here and my experience in an at-5 and higher marker. So remember, you go through in a chronological order. I think it's really important with describe to remind the candidates to try and go through it from start to finish. Now in at-5, the marking instructions and the SK markers, we advise that the candidates get a mark per point of description, so per sentence if you like. For higher though, I'm always trying to push the candidates to give me from start to finish. It just means that it makes sense for them all the way through. So that's something we try to sort of reinforce in our department. Give a chronological step by step, but what do you start with and what do you finish with? So if it's something like the multi-stage fitness test, yeah, you finish off by writing your scores and your jota. What do you do with that? Or compare to national norms? You get me through that right at the end. So I find that's a really good habit to get the kids into. Short and sharp sentences, and imagine you're writing an answer for someone who's never seen it before. A really good analogy I've heard along the way is that you can actually get the kids, and I've heard the departments doing this, getting kids actually to phone somebody. They're in the small gym, somebody else in the games hall, and actually through the phone give them that step-by-step instructions. Right, so now measure out 20 metres apart for the multi-stage fitness test or whatever it may be. And that's a really good analogy, but it's also actually a really good learning task to get the kids to do. So your aim here is to make sure that the recipient of information is capable of setting up and carrying out whatever it may be correctly from start to finish. One other thing that we do is we try and get the kids to come up with a hazards board, so for describe especially. So what things are you not allowed to have in here? And we have this up and we get the kids to create it once we went through all the command words. So things we're looking for next to here is things like because, this led to, this resulted in, why. That's your hazard. If any of those words come up, then the candidates know actually I'm reading into another command word here. And even just having that sign up in your classroom can be a good go-to, right? Remember the hazards. You don't even need to have the word around it. It can just be a reminder for the candidates. So here's a wee example of how describe has been broken down. The top illustration here is off a BBC Bite Size again, and I know a lot of people have been using that. We've kind of went one wee step further. My colleagues and I have really thought about, right, what's the checklist? What are the parts, all the different parts of describe that the candidates sometimes forget? Things like equipment, how long they do something for, and the time as well might even be relating to like how many people are involved also as well, what it is, how it's actually carried out. So we've got 3, 6, 7, 8 different parts of our checklist there, which is really big, and I get that, and I know that might be just too overwhelming for some candidates, but we found breaking it down and then them actually writing that in the margin, they've been able to tick it off as they go, and it's just meant they've covered every point whilst thinking, am I doing this from start to finish? Now, just during lockdown, we've come up with a wee idea. We actually gave this checklist out. We said, right, kids, be creative. You might not be able to remember all that. Can you come up with an acronym to try and remember? Now, we get some replies, some didn't know what an acronym was, and we had some wee issues, and we also put it out as a wee kind of fun competition. So here's what one of the girls in my class came up with. Every parrot has 2 wings. Yes, Sarah, indeed it does have 2 wings. So she's come up with this acronym, and the hope is that her actually formulating that and then having a kind of winner of the class prize or the class competition, that some of the kids will either use that, they might adopt that, and that might be a good way of them remembering the checklist. So there's different things you can use there. I totally get though that amount on the checklist might be overwhelming for some candidates, but we found that on the most part for higher, it's just been a wee good steer to keep them on the right track. So again, going back to those generic questions, ask them to describe how to make a cup of tea, describe how to play a board game, keeping it really, really generic initially. And I think in light of our current situation, these are perfect. It's something that they can actually talk through with parents and family members, but also getting used to that, what's required for the describe command words. So again, that step-by-step instructions, and the thing we always say, a picture paints 1,000 words, so just reinforcing that, and I think these tasks definitely help that. Aaron, I stole this one from you. I think this is a great illustration and a great learning task. I've pinched this for my next task in my higher class and National 5. Spotting the difference, so getting the kids to see 2 or maybe 3 or maybe 4 different responses or example answers and getting them to spot the difference between the command words. So which one would satisfy and evaluate, which one would satisfy an identification. That's a really, really good learning task. And I'm definitely going to be using that for all the command words and getting the kids to kind of spot the difference. Again, that could be done on forms. So it's just a simple identification. Is it A or B? And then it could actually mark it for you. Really straightforward, but gets them thinking about how to access and how to understand the command words. And again, this is just the answer that Aaron brought up. So the describe versus explain, and you could do that for any of them. Evaluate versus analyse. I thought that was a really good learning activity to share if you've not seen Aaron's video yet. Another one that we use is kind of like catchphrase, so say what you see. So just put something up on the board, all right? You've got to mention it, i.e. that's identification, and then go on to describe it. A wee bit more challenging than the telephone analogy, but again, that's then allowing them to recall a wee bit better. So rather than just listening and writing down the step-by-steps, they've then got to start to recall a wee bit more. And again, we would always try and steer them towards the checklist and get them to use that as a point of reference. Other learning tasks that we use for describe is the what am I, so like the kind of heads up game, so they put a post-it note on their head with one of the approaches. Again, I know a lot of everybody's probably doing these things. I'm just want to kind of run down the things that we've been using quite a lot and obviously sharing good practice from other colleagues. So what am I game, be the teacher, okay, and I'll show an example of that later on. Speed dating, that's a brilliant one. I got that when I went and observed a chemistry lesson for our open doors fortnight. It's a brilliant lesson. So just speed dating, the kids come up with 3 or 4 questions and they make them really challenging actually, but you can make it all steer to one command word. So all the questions have got to be about describe or all the questions have got to be about identify, okay? Spot the difference, as I just said to you earlier on. Catchphrase, okay, say what you see. And the next one that we use as well is peer tutoring. And we're trying to establish a YouTube channel. We're not quite there yet. My colleague Ryan Begley is working on that. But the peer tutoring, so as we know, research shows and evidence shows that 90% of recall is through teaching others. So a big part of this command word and the others is we actually get the young people in our classes to do 2 things. At the start of the year, we get our National 5 and hires to actually film themselves describing your data collection, your approaches, various things throughout the year. And it kind of puts them on the spot a wee bit. They've got to rehearse, they've got to prepare, kind of like I'm doing today, and then they've got to video themselves. So that recall and teaching others and talking through it really heightens their understanding. And then the second part of that is when our Nat 5s are preparing for their portfolio, we get them to sit with the hires and they then tutor them through that process. So they become the teacher of the hire candidates and they work through the answers with the National 5 candidates. It was my colleague Ryan Begley who really pioneered this within our department, and it's something we really want to continue moving forward. So that's another kind of teaching approach, especially for describe, because they seem a wee bit more comfortable to go through the step-by-step instructions when a describe answer comes up. Be the teacher, so that's another learning activity. With the checklist, we get the kids to maybe highlight, so give them a sample answer, maybe 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4. This one, for example, the bits that are highlighted in yellow are the equipment, and then the bits that are highlighted in blue are what it is or who's involved. So they've actually got a colour coded system. So that's another example of how you can apply that. Here's our question. So I'm not going to go through every single question. Obviously, you can go back and read them. But a simple question here: describe a method to monitor performance. So multi-stage fitness test. We've got time scale in there. So what we would do is we get the kids to be the teacher, take that answer, and then just put in brackets or highlight where the parts of the checklist are, and then read it from start to finish and say to them, right, how many marks would you give that? If you're only giving it 3 or 4 marks, what bits are missing? And we get them to do that with each other's work. We do that quite a lot. We do that with each other's work because they're very, very critical, and it's actually very good for their understanding as well. Just another example that you can read at your leisure. Again, just using that checklist that we've kind of broken down a wee bit. But you could do it with the who, the what, the where, It's the same principle. So looking at explain then, so explain is giving the reasons for something. It's sometimes described as the cause and the effect. And if the cause and effect match up correctly, you unlock the door and pick up the mark. And that tends to be the general theme. We've kind of looked at it a wee bit slightly differently. So here's the three sort of approaches I would say for most of the PE team, how it's delivered. So there's a point evidence example I've heard just even this week on the webinars, point example explain, and the cause and effect. We use the bottom one there, the point example explain. Just through experience, I feel that when the pupil answers the question and they're talking about a particular sport or a particular approach, I think it leads quite naturally on to them then giving an example, and from that example they can then exemplify it. But that's just absolute personal opinion and from my experience. Some of us maybe do it around the other way. All three are correct, and all three would be worthy of much great as long as had the linking words and obviously the effect and the impact. So how we structure it is point what happened, what did you decide, what did you choose, you're answering the question effectively. An example, so provide an example from the context of what happened, and we're always saying to candidates it's got to relate to the factor. So for example, explain a consideration you might make when setting goals in the mental factor. Whatever consideration they're talking about should relate to the mental factor, because as they go on to analyse, they've really got to make sure there's that link to the factors, especially when they're in a scenario. So we're always trying to reinforce that early on and explain. And then the last D is an explanation. Provide detail of the impact, the effect of the above, what happened as a result and what did it lead to. So that's the structure that we use, but I don't think it's a million miles away from what everybody else uses. Linking words, different ways you can do this, I suppose. You can have a word bank, you could have also just dedicated linking words that you use. I think it depends on your candidates. If you've got real kind of high flyers in your class, more able pupils, they might be able to handle a bit more of this resulted in, this led to. If they just use the word because, that's absolutely fine. They're all worthy of a linking word or statement to get them into the impact which is required at this stage. My advice would be, either give them the word bank and let them probably choose it from themselves, all right, rather than being too prescriptive there, because some of the candidates, as we know, can struggle with the language just in the question and actually just how they start their answer. So the PE chain, I think, really gets them into that, and they're not thinking too much about how am I going to start this. So some generic questions that we use again, why were you late for school? Why did you pick PE? So I picked PE because I really enjoy the subject. Example, actually my teacher's really fun. Explanation of that, because they're fun, I'm really motivated, and I work hard. So something like that along the lines where we're easing them into that point example explanation. Some other learning tasks that we use find the fib. It's got a good one. You can put, reasons why something was used. So remember, explain is all about the reasons why something is appropriate. So find the fib's quite good. So list the reasons why something is appropriate. And there's a wee curveball in there, and they've got to find the fib. The bouncing the questions is a really good one, which I know a lot of us are doing all the time. But for point example explanation, you get one pupil to give the point, the other one to give the example, another one to give the explanation. So they've really got to listen there, and they've got to have that kind of joined up thinking. And it's brilliant for revision as well, where they're all working together. Weakest link game, we've all done that before. Good, better, best, that's kind of like be the teacher. Give them a 1 out of 4 mark answer, they've got to make it better. And that's good for consolidating later on in the revision. And the dominoes, jigsaw stuff, again, I've seen Aaron's posted quite a bit on this on SATPE, about using the jigsaw and piecing together what point, an example, and explanation all fit together to paint a picture of an explanation. Another kind of question and answer here. So this question, explain why it's important to receive effective feedback when developing mental factors. Here I've just given an example of an answer using the point, example, explanation. Now we get the kids as far as possible to write the PE in the margin. We just think it gets them right into the answer, and it just gives them a wee bit more structure. And as an SQA marker, I've seen that happening more and more over the course of the last few years, which is great to see. Different, structures, but actually the kids writing that down, you can see that as a body of PE professionals. That's what we're going down the route of, and that's brilliant. And then here I've just highlighted the linking words, which then goes into the impact or the effect. So this would be worth 1 mark. Remember as well for explain, and if any that are markers, you'll know that sometimes for explain you get in the marking instructions it will say the candidate can get a further mark for an extra point of development or a further point of development. So here I've just exemplified that where there is 2 linking words and there's a further exemplification which may, in my opinion, would warrant the candidate to get 2 marks. So again, you can read through that, but you can see in red where I've put the 2 points where the 2 linking words have started and the candidate has given an extra point of development. We are always trying to push our kids to do that, and you all do the same as we do. You constantly ask the question, so what? So what? So what does that mean? So that's really good, I think, and explained for 2 reasons. 1, they can actually pick up another mark, but 2, it prepares them for analyse and evaluate. So I would absolutely encourage you to get your candidates to do that, and we do that anyway. You know, that's our go-to. So what does that mean? What does that lead to? Okay, so evaluate now. Evaluate is an overall value. Now, this is a really busy slide, and I just wanted to bring together what all the thoughts are on it and kind of as a summary. So just reading through it, basically for evaluate, there's got to be an overall judgment, why something was effective or it was not effective. There's got to be a judgment there, an overall value. Each paragraph then has a judgment statement using evaluative terms like benefits and limitations. Previously it was advantages, disadvantages, it might be how effective it was, how useful something was, if something was less useful. So these are all evaluative terms, and again you could have a word bank of this. I know that our English department does that. They actually have a bank of evaluative comments and words, so that might be something that you can, or something you can liaise with. The next sentence in each paragraph then justifies why the evaluative term, and then the last bit is about impact. Now, I don't show my candidates that. That's a lot of information, and that's what we see as markers. But that is the general, theme from evaluating what we're wanting to see in an answer. An overall judgment. There's a value there, and they've given some sort of reasoning behind that. And where appropriate, there's a benefits and limitations. What's good about it? What's not so good about it? Here's another example from BBC Bite Size. I know some people use this as well, the VRI, so the value, reinforce that, how it was good because, and then the impact. So again, these are all great, ways of doing it, and absolutely credited. Some top tips before I go into how we approach this. What I would advise is that a candidate should try and write in the past tense for this, because an evaluation is taking place at the end of a process or after something, and it just gets them into that thinking of, yeah, that was useful because, and getting them to write in the past tense certainly gets them into that mindset and is helpful, I think. Obviously, you're looking for the candidate not to contradict themselves. So if they're saying something's a benefit and then they're flipping that, that's going to be a contradiction. So therefore, they're not going to get the mark there because it's the same body of knowledge. And I think Louise and some others actually picked up on that this week. And also for the evaluator, we're looking for a full chain, kind of like the PE chain and explain, to get that 1 mark. Again, you've got linking words. These are a wee bit more extensive that you can bring in, so you can start introducing these for evaluate. And for evaluate as well, we're still looking, if possible, and if the question allows it, for you to back up your judgment, if necessary, with some quantitative and qualitative data. So qualitative data could be just a word or a phrase like higher, lower, shorter, longer, increase, decrease, max or minimum. Your quantitative obviously might then contain facts and figures. So it depends on the question. But if the question is asking for an evaluation of something, whether it be benefits, limitations, or an evaluation of, a PDP, for example, you're wanting the candidate to have some sort of evidence there to back that up where possible. So what do we use at St Columbus High School? We use the PE chain again, and we do that for benefits and limitations. We actually use it the entire way through, from explain right through to analyse. I just think the kids have got enough to kind of learn and remember that we just keep it the same the whole way through. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe there's wee loopholes here, but we've been pretty successful with question paper over the last few years where, we're right quite well above the national average. So I'm pretty happy with the responses that we get from the kids. But again, any feedback from them would be really, really welcome. So the point, example, explanation, and you can see I've just matched it up with what previous and what other centres or what other colleagues are doing. So that judgment, evidence, and the value, effect, impact for us is, in a sense, is the explanation. So benefits and limitations, we ask the candidates to look at benefits and limitations using the PE chain again, and I'll show you some examples of that in a moment. So this is just a wee example of evaluating. It's not a complete full, but this is again the teacher where we get them like. So where's the judgment made? Where's the value? So the value is that last bit there, and again I'll show you that in the next question. So some of the learning tasks that we do is we do evaluate the benefits and limitations of people learning to drive at 17 years of age. It's a brilliant one that gets them right into that contrast of here's how something would look, at how it's a good thing, here's how something's not such a good thing. We have had evaluate Scottish independence. We did that because our social subjects department actually did a mock referendum in our school, so we kind of tied that up. And also as well, we get them to watch really generic clips. So one of the ones we've got is from like Britain's Got Talent, and we put that on and they've got to make a judgment. They've got to say, right, okay, that was good because, and they're doing that on limited knowledge. So therefore as well, they've kind of got to go and research. And what we say to them is, we see that research you're doing, that's going to be like your data collection and your monitoring and your retesting. That's your research on your own performance. So it links up fairly well. Some other learning tasks that we use is welcome to court. So Greg on Monday mentioned this at Advanced Hire. We do a similar thing. So it's almost like a sporting debate. So we have 3 groups. You get your prosecution, your defence, and you get your jury. And you get them to go and research after you take them through perhaps like the approaches. So the prosecution or the defence, are defending a certain approach. So they'll come in and say, right, here's the reasons why you should use repetition practice. The prosecution then come in and say, here's the reasons why you shouldn't. And then the jury obviously have the overriding judgment. And then there's a great discussion. The way we do it is that the kids come in and they're not allowed their notes. They've got to be prepared beforehand. And it's a brilliant revision tool. And the feedback from the kids is they found it really interactive and they felt as if they could go away and consolidate their information. And then they had to be prepared to present to everybody. So that's another maybe useful learning kind of activity going forward. Be the teacher again, carousel tasks, so just like your mind maps and dicey business. Any ones that I've mentioned here, if you're not familiar with them, I can give you a kind of link to our PowerPoint that has the setup of the revision games. But we link certain revision games to certain command words as well, because we think just through time they've been tried and tested. Okay, so question and answer here. So evaluate the effectiveness of approaches using a PDP to improve the emotional factor. So one approach to improve the emotional factor is deep breathing. Now, this first answer is really detailed. You might say it's probably too much, but I think where we go down the line of keep asking the kids, so what does that mean? What we do have to be careful of is this top answer may be too much, or it may be just enough for some person. Because remember, we're averaging about 8-9 minutes per question in the higher exam for section 1 and section 2 anyway. So because we're averaging that level of detail will be manageable for some and not manageable for everybody. The second answer there is the same quality. It still follows the point of the example and the explanation, and it still warrants a mark, but you can see it's much more succinct. So what we do, especially with our evaluate and our analyse command word, is even during lockdown, our task, we ask the kids and we give them a time. So we say this question should take you this amount of minutes. Then they write in the margin how many minutes it's taken them. So already, even in lockdown, we're getting a good indication of time scale, because we know that even though it's 2.5 hours, there's a lot for our candidates to consider, and there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of content. So we're trying to get them into the routine of, especially for the more demanding command words, get into your 6-7 mark. For analyse, we're looking maybe 10 to 15 minutes where appropriate. So that's a good comparison to show them, right? Okay, if you can achieve that first one and that level of detail, great. But that second one is also given because they're following the point, the example, and the explanation chain. Again, depending on what structure you use, will dictate the structure that the candidates give. Another example there as well, and some of these are just examples. Aaron has asked us as a team, we've got a kind of small subgroup now to come up with kind of sample answers for each of the command words. So these will all be there and there'll be much more. Again, you can use them, you can pick them apart, you can do some of the things possibly I've suggested or other things. Here again, I've just put, where the value is given. You can see it's a point, example, explanation. Quite a lengthy answer again. What I would say is the only wee downfall of the structure that we use is that I tend to find the candidates are putting quite a lot into the example. So we're working on trying to reduce that, and that's a language thing. That's the actual the literacy skills of the young people that we're trying to work on. But again, that point, example, explanation is the tool that we use to evaluate. Okay, lastly guys, on to analyse, and then I think we'll have a wee bit of time for questions. So analyse, really it's about looking at something much more closely, and I think the key word here is you're deconstructing. So you're taking something apart and you're saying why that was useful. So for example, if you're doing data collection and it was a time-related observation schedule, you look at its entirety, but then you start picking it apart. So why have we got the time intervals along the top? Right, so what's the purpose of them? How does that put the information into manageable chunks? How does that help us when setting goals? How does that help us, etc.? So very much about chunking the information and breaking it down. So we have another example from BBC Bite Size, which is identification, implication and impact. Again, brilliant, and I think that, as we know, that covers everything. That's actually been the advice in the SQ higher marking scheme. And I know that a lot of my colleagues are using that. My screen here, sorry, Aaron. There we are. Right, so what we do, surprise, surprise, is we use the PE chain, but we add another E on. So this is just how we do it. We feel that just the point, the example, we've already developed that. The explanation, which is that this leads to, your final explanation and analyse is taking it one step further. So it's that, so what again? And if we've already in explain, asked them to try and take on a second development point and they get a second mark for it, then in analyse, that will certainly help them, and then they've already practiced that. So what we do is we use the point, example, explanation, and then a further explanation. And how we do that, okay, is just trying to say to the children and the kids in our class, think of it of the benefit. And then that last explanation is your kind of overall benefit. So, or the negative if it's a scenario. You can give me your feedback on that. We've been using that for quite a bit of time now, and I feel it just lets them read into the answer, and it keeps the same setup from the first or the second command word explained right through, and they're not having to think, oh, is this an I, or is this a, it's just all the way through, and one builds on the other. Again, you've got linking words, so you need a linking word for the second, the third D, and you need a linking word for the last D as well. So you've got that point, example, explanation, this means that, explanation, this resulted in. So again, feedback most welcome. That's just the way we've been doing it, and we found candidates have worked pretty well with it. We've used other approaches, and I actually trialled some of them with my higher class, and they were like, no, just go back to this. And so it's totally dependent on your candidates. So back to the learning task, again, we just ask them what things you need to pack your school bag. Okay, so just take it back to what we said, really generic questions to get them into the use or the way of analysing. Just conscious of time here, so I might go a wee bit quicker. We use things like what happened next, so showing them a YouTube clip or showing them any kind of sporting clip, even a live performance, get the class to stop, make their BG class stop. Higher class are there, right, what's going to happen next? It could be even on a YouTube clip, so run a clip, stop it, what's going to happen next, right? So see if that happens, what do you think the impact's going to be? What do you think that will result in? What might that lead to? Again, that just gets them into that kind of mindset of taking it one step further. Dominoes, you can have point, example, explanation, and they all link up together. And the scenario, when the scenario first came out, I pretty much, I would say, treated it as a factors impacting, and that was it. And then we kind of revisit it at the end. For analyse, the scenario, we do it throughout everything. So we're constantly, looking at data collection and analysing it, constantly looking at factors and analysing that as well. Here's another question and answer. Again, I'll kind of go through this and you can look through at your leisure. But there's a point, there's an example. This one's got 2 examples in it. So this is what I'm saying to the kids, try and avoid this. There's too many examples in here, you only need one. And I show them that because this is actually an example from one of my pupils last year. Great examples, but just not getting into the what impact did it have, get into it a wee bit sooner. Again, that point, the example, explanation, explanation. So that's the sort of structure that we use. And again, I've just highlighted in red, where that comes in. You can use be the teacher again. And a final example there of a question and answer. I'm just conscious of the time, Marin, to kind of read through the questions. So I'll maybe stop there because I think there's only 2 minutes to go if anybody does have any questions or any feedback.
Yeah, brilliant, Lindsay, thanks. Folks, brilliant presentation, got loads out of it. Obviously, one of the issues we have at the moment is that our sessions only last 40 minutes just with the membership that we've got. So what I've done, I've put it on the chat for everybody. We've literally got less than a minute for you to note it down. I've scheduled another meeting starting at 12:45, so 5 minutes time till 1:15. I've put the meeting ID and the password. Now the password is case sensitive, so where there's a capital, it's a capital when you put the password in. If you want to join us, and then we can actually go through some of the stuff, because there's loads of great material there from Lindsay that I'm sure more people like to ask a few questions around. Again, these videos will be going up on the SATPE website. It goes under pupil notes and then SATPE Zoom videos. And we do have copies of the PowerPoints up on Microsoft Teams, on the SATPE Microsoft Teams. So, folks, what I'll do, if we're all just, Lindsay, brilliant job, thanks a lot. If we're all okay with it, I'm going to get us to go to the other one at 12:45. Is that all right?
Yep, me.
Yep, sounds good.
Right, perfect. Just trying to think on my feet. All right.
Yep.
So if you want to join us there, like I said, meeting ID and passwords there, and we'll see you at 12:45. All right.
Brilliant. Thanks, Aaron.
Right. Cheers, Tal. See you at 12:45.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. So for those that are still here, I'll try and say this very quickly in case you didn't get the